Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Viz. This month we're doing a Christmas special on all the IronViz entries. So I have Frederic here to present to us his 007 Viz, which is really interesting. So over to you, Fred, to give an intro.
So I'm Frederic. I'm in Brisbane. I work as a database manager in the retail space in Australia, and I've been involved with the Tableau community since 2017. I actually discovered Tableau by accident in my previous job, and when I saw Tableau easy to use, drag and drop, I got hooked. I fell in love straight away. Then I discovered Tableau Public, and I found that the data farm or the data community was really supportive. So all that stuff led me to basically learn Tableau on my own. Now I'm leading the Brisbane Tableau user group, and I'm also one of the co-lead for the spot tag. So I think that's my fifth or sixth IronViz submission this year.
That's quite a lot. So maybe since it's your sixth IronViz, tell us how you've approached IronViz and how it has changed over the years.
To be honest, I found IronViz quite intimidating more in the past because it's a Tableau-led activity as opposed to Make of a Monday, which is maybe it's less serious. So there's more pressure. That's what I'm trying to say. There's more pressure with IronViz. There's a qualifier. You can even get on the stage if you score the top three. So you can't come up with something that's pretty bad. And that's been holding me off quite a few times because you got that perception that needs to be a good quality. For example, last year, I think the subject was games, and I got very close and didn't do anything because I couldn't find the angle. So I prefer giving up rather than just doing something that's half-baked. This year, different kind of ideas with entertainment. In my head, I like to use Tableau as a way for people to learn different topics. So the first topic that came to mind for me was gambling in Australia, which is terrible. It's a serious subject, and that's good to that how bad it is. In Australia, the Australians are world champion in how much they spend in gambling. It's terrible. And people become depressed, suicide, and that kind of stuff. But I couldn't find any good data set. That topic I found this year, which is about James Bond, was by coincidence. So I was getting stuck with a potential topic. I was looking online for good data sets. And I was driving my car and I was listening to the ABC, which is a national broadcaster in Australia. And I know it's a weird story, but there was a guy interviewed that was talking about his local distillery. They got to talk about different gin recipes. And I think he was talking about the martini recipe with gins. And I don't know why, but martini instantly gave me the James Bond link. You know, James Bond is well known to drink martini, and I said, James Bond is a topic I really want to cover. That's something came from the sky.
Were you driving an Aston Martini as well?
Nah, but sometimes it's funny the way things get together. I often get ideas when I run.
Yeah, but that's cool. Ideas come everywhere.
True. And then I guess when I got the James Bond idea, I started to look at the data sets. There's a lot of stuff on Wikipedia. And I must admit that I used Claude Sonnet faster than ChatGPT to help me structure my search. That's the first time I used Sonnet with some prompting, find me ideas of data set I could find. There's a lot of trial and errors. I think more for me was more the fun of using a GenAI platform to guide me with the data collection process. I don't know if it's good or bad, Louis, but I'm a big fan of James Bond. I really love the early version with Sean Connery. Not quite the recent James Bond, which I found quite violent. I've got 3 young adults, and when they were teenagers, they were watching the James Bond, and I remember telling myself, those things are very violent, like a lot of fighting and a lot of violence. So that put me off a little bit. In my head, James Bond story with the martini drinking, cool kind of guy, and the movie is becoming more and more violent. That was like the thread of the story for me to find the data set. And I use the dashboard to try to answer those questions and have a bit of fun in the same place.
Yeah, so for me, my idea of James Bond is Daniel Craig. I grew up in the violent James Bond era, so I've never watched the original one. So maybe let's take a trip down memory lane. You can share your screen and then we'll talk through your analysis and the design behind it.
Sure, hang on, let me share my screen. As I said, with the slide biased, what I wanted to do is really have the 6 actors, obviously from Sean Connery to the more recent one, Daniel Craig. I wanted to have those guys in the middle and use as filters as well. I've decided to have very powerful color scheme And I'm not ashamed to admit I've used Ada Critic Pro. It's a GenAI bot where you basically stick a thumbnail, screenshots, or draft of a viz, and then the thing basically gives you answers, questions, feedback, guidance, and that kind of stuff. But I was playing with dark backgrounds, brighter texts, and I was getting stuck. I wasn't quite happy with the design. And then using that tool, I don't know if anyone of your listeners tried, but you basically stick a screenshot. So I've downloaded the screenshot of the viz, and you basically ask questions. It could be just send me feedback.
Yes, I've used this. This is really good because I think some people in the community aren't too comfortable asking for feedback, and this helps with not being able to get feedback from someone. And this really does it really well. It scores you and gives you all the advice and recommendations on how you can make things a bit more accessible, coherent, and stuff like that.
So I've tried the tool a few times. Basically, I did ask the tool early on to suggest color palettes for the viz. And the tool gave me 5 or 6 background colors to try on different combinations of text. And that was just try and error that I basically came up with that blue look and feel. The main actors has very vibrant colors, and I kept with the theme. So you can see, for example, this one basically tells us the gross amount per actor. All the data has been adjusted to 2024 values, so you can compare apple with apple. The first impression I had was the early James Bond were better and were cheaper. And I sort of proved that those are the early ones. And you see this one and this one are very comparable, but this one is the most profitable in terms of gross revenue. So the one from 1965, Thunderball, is probably one of the most known James Bond movie in terms of metric. I come from a marketing background before doing data viz. So looking at profit, sales ratio, that kind of stuff is kind of natural. So that basically tells us that the return on investment for the early movies is much higher. They were basically making movies on the cheap, and they were very successful. So I don't know if the technology or the CGI that's more expensive, but it turns out the early movies have got way more return. So
that chart is really interesting. It gives you a really good overview of how budgets have changed over the years. I was quite surprised to see the Sean Connery films having so low budget, but having such a big return and ratings as well.
As you said, Louis, why would the early one be so cheap to make? Maybe the production costs were lower, or maybe the actors were paid less. Who knows? But that's very interesting. In terms of my analysis, I guess the top part of the dashboard was the more serious stuff. And I decided to go a bit on the tangent. Like this one is looking at the killings and the ratings. So I tried to demonstrate that to be popular, you don't need to kill everyone in a movie. And maybe there's a cultural thing where people are turned off by a lot of killing and gore movies. This one is looking at the martini drinking. I couldn't do a dashboard just on martini drinking. I just wanted to analyze how many drinks per movie. So this one, those are the early ones. Sean Connery drank 3 martinis, and those are the rating and also the gross. Maybe showing that I can't say that James Bond is drinking less and less, but he's not drinking as much martini as he used to be. Maybe he's drinking other stuff, champagne or wine, who knows?
Yeah. So this is interesting. Was this already in the data set? Like how many martinis that he drank?
Yeah, then you could watch all the movies with a pen and paper, which I didn't have time. So I realized on the Claude AI to give me some data. Whether that thing is 100% accurate, I'm not sure. But I think that I'm good enough for the Viz. There's very nerdy James Bond fans that talk and that write about very specific James Bond aspect of the movies, which is kind of crazy. So the data is out there, but it's very hard to find. It doesn't come up as a unified kind of data source. I think when you think about the James Bond, obviously you think about the villain, you think about the girl, but also the car. Aston Martin and the gadgets always come to mind. That's something I wanted to put in the dashboard. So there's a data set I found online that was what are the car James Bond is driving for the movies. Aston Martin is the most popular cars. There's different models. The data set is a bit more detailed, but for the sake of the exploration, I've decided to bunch them together. So those 2 charts, the network and the Sankey, I use Tristan's tools. And Apple was quite fun to use them. What I want to visualize is the network of the James Bond movies. And you can tell that Q was involved in 17 movies. Some actors stayed almost forever. Like this one, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's an old guy playing with gadgets. So he's done 17, which is really amazing. So that basically visualized interconnections between the main actors. Moneypenny is there. Lois Maxwell played in 17 movies as well. Sometimes you discovered some amazing stuff with the story. We all know about the main actors, but the secondary actors, like M, Moneypenny, Q, and the villains, are equally as important, as you can imagine. So I put dashboard together, Louis, and I've used the GenAI tool to guide me. I just wanted to prove that it can be done, and I'm quite happy with the outcome.
I think you've touched on a very important point. With this rise of AI, a lot of folks are like afraid AI will replace their jobs. I know Will Sutton has talked a lot on this subject. Like AI should be used as a assistant to your workflow, and I think you've demonstrated it in your Viz, like having it run ideation for you and what are the data points you can possibly use, even using Adam Miko's Viz Critic to check the color contrast, the spelling, and also using GenAI to source for data that might not be readily available. I think this shows a very strong case of how GenAI can be used to help you with your workflow. At the end of the day, data visualization is a pretty subjective skill set. You'll still need someone to put the story together, but it's good to know that there are tools out there that can help simplify our process.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't replace the teamwork. Like in my work, we've got a bunch of Tableau professionals. We give each other feedback. I won't use GenAI to replace that process, but it gives you a hand. It also helps you find short, good titles for the charts, because sometimes you come up with a cumbersome workaround way that doesn't sound quite English.
It's funny you said that you're using GenAI to help you iterate through titles, because I did the same exact thing. My Viz is named Beyond the Joystick, and for the longest time I was trying to think what would be a good title. I had it go through ChatGPT for quite a few iterations to finally come to that title. So I think you're right on that.
Yeah, it's quite a fun process. The fact that I found the story while I was driving in my car was quite a funny story and proved my hypothesis. I'm a big fan of Sean Connery. And
so I'll guess that he is your favorite James Bond.
Yeah, he is. I don't know. Maybe because, as I said before, with the later James Bond, there's a lot of CGI, I'm sure. It jumps from planes and there's a lot of killing, almost like a science fiction kind of movie. The early one, that's a personal feel, that's more easy, fun, a bit quirky kind of movies. That's what I love. I'd be keen to hear people tell me they like the later ones for different reasons, maybe. But you can see that Skyfall, which is a hugely successful movie, as successful as the early one. So people are divided.
The recent years have also seen a rise in espionage movies. So you have movies like Mission Impossible, Bourne Identity, Liam Neeson Taken. How do you find all those? Is it too violent for you?
No, but I don't know. I think what I like about the James Bond is he's got that kind of history behind it, with amazing actors that help get the series to different levels, I guess.
You can't really beat nostalgia. Things you grew up watching or playing as a kid.
I've never really spent a lot of time analyzing the movies, but it comes with the same recipe. You got a main actor, the James Bond, Moneypenny, Q, M, you got the bad guy, you got the car, you got that he's going to save the world, he's going to drink a few martinis in the meantime. The recipe is kind of the same. It's not quirky. It's done in a nice way. So that kind of recipe has been carried through almost all the years. When you see one, you get that kind of same threads, which I think I found that fascinating.
That is true. So I think we have everything we need from your IronViz entry today, and it's amazing work. Thank you, Fred, for spending time with us to walk through this. I hope everyone learned something from this, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. See you soon. And I really love your IronViz submission as well. It was very fun.
Thank you.
Good. I hope someone is interviewing you.
I'll probably interview myself then.
See you soon.
See ya.